Welcome in, everyone. RFK Refugees Podcast. Ted here, John here. We are back. Feels good to be back, John. Back recording to you, talking DC United, Washington Spirit. DC Power, maybe? No, I don't know.
Absolutely not. No way.
Well, let me explain a little bit about that, maybe in the Washington Spirit segment. But yeah, I think we're going to pass a little bit on that. But John, first I do, my friend, how's the break been for you? Has it been good to kind of step away a little bit?
No, it's been bad. I have the COVID. I had the COVID. I still have the COVID. Not great. I have I stay 6 feet away from your podcast player for the next however many days. I thought I was better, and now I'm not. So apologies to everyone that has come across me in the last couple of days, because I really did think it was over. So it's not. But yeah, no. Other than that, I've just been sick. That's been my week. While you were vacationing and riding sea turtles, I was laying in my bed and forgetting words. But let's talk about your vacation. I want to hear about it at vacation. Let's go to the fantasy land where I'm not wasn't sick all last week. What was going on in your world?
Vacation was nice. So I was out at Topsail Island, North Carolina beach. Wonderful beach if you ever get the opportunity to head out. It's a really nice. It used to be more secluded than it actually is. I think the secret's out, I think, as our family likes to say. We've been going there for years. But it's a wonderful trip. Got to see family, got to hang out with family, got to just, turned off those email and Teams notifications. It was wonderful. So I wasn't thinking about work. And then of course you come in Monday and it's like everything just gets kind of run into you, but you still feel like a little bit more refreshed and ready to get at it. So, but it was good. It was a good week. Watched a little bit of soccer, and there wasn't a whole lot of soccer to really watch. So it was kind of a nice little break. I would have felt if like DC had done a run in Leagues Cup and they were playing games, maybe I would have felt a little guilty, but they got bounced pretty early.
And producer Brian had a birthday, so everybody else had a good week except for yours truly last week. Oh well.
And now you get to spend the next hour with me, so that's that's the improvement.
I feel better
right?
already.
That's when
I'm
it gets
feeling
better.
I am feeling better for sure.
All right, let's jump into it. Before we get into, I guess, Saturday's game, quick summation, I guess I want to do on Leagues Cup. DC United getting bounced 2-1 to Mazatlan. Disappointing result, a red card to Jared Stroud, which is kind of funny that he then played the next game, which felt a little weird to me. I was like, wait, does this like carry over, or does it just carry over to the next Leagues Cup? There might not be a next Leagues Cup. I don't know. The reviews have not been great for the team, but
an all MLS Final Four is probably not what the league had in mind as far as watchability. But Colorado Rapids are now in the CONCACAF Champions League next year, so that's which rules. I think that's actually kind of cool. That part's neat.
And we might get Indy 11 in the CONCACAF Champions League.
Love it.
if they beat Sporting KC and because LAFC go to the final as well. I think they're guaranteed a spot as sort of the backup.
Yes.
So
good.
Yeah, interesting times we live in. But I want to keep it DC focused. Yeah. I know there's a lot of people out there that are like, I didn't watch the Leagues Cup. I don't care about the Leagues Cup. We're not going to do an in-depth thing, but I want to give like up or down vote. Successful Leagues Cup, yes or no?
For us?
For DC, yes.
Sure. Yeah, I think it was good. I think they didn't get washed out immediately. They were dangerous, and they had a penalty kick winning situation. So I think that's great. I think I gave them a little bit of confidence going forward.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you disagree?
I disagree a little bit, just because I think the opportunity was there to make a little bit of a run. Mazatlan are not a great team, and I think DC, the red card really hurt them. Just kind of the last game was just kind of, for me, kind of a letdown. And I feel like maybe I wanted a little bit more out of this tournament. I know what everybody thinks about this tournament. I know all that, but it's still a competition. It's still a chance to get Champions League. And Colorado went on a run and they managed to get the Champions League. Do I think we would have done that? I don't know. I don't know.
The Pids.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it was maybe a little bit of a missed opportunity, considering where they finished in the group, who their opponent was, how they had that game at home. Maybe a little bit of a missed opportunity, and maybe some
better. Could have been better. for sure.
And at the very least, another opportunity, even if they lose in that next game, it's still another opportunity to sort of keep integrating Boris Enow and David Schnegg, which I think was maybe the good part about this tournament. I think those players, the new signings, got an effective run out where it wasn't just now we're during this league stretch. We'll get into the game on Saturday, but I thought that was good to at least get a little bit of extra game time. So, so that's I'm kind of I'm a little bit 50-50 on it. Disappointing again for me, so I'm not going to call it a complete success. But let's break into it. Let's talk the game. Let's talk the game on Saturday. DC United 4-3 losers to FC Dallas. I think right off the bat, I think playoffs are done. I think this is for me. This is the game. You needed some momentum. You needed to win. The stretch, like if you kind of look at it, doesn't look like all that challenging. But the home games you have, I think I kind of did some quick analysis. All your home games are against teams that are currently in the playoffs.
New York, Columbus,
NYCFC, Charlotte, and I'm trying to remember. I think Dallas was the other game, and we lost that game. So we have 3 more home games. We have 5 more road games. All the games against our teams that were kind of like fighting in that playoff spot, all on the road. So not great.
And you must remember when you analyze other teams, we are at the bottom. So like whatever you think about the other teams being an easy bet, like Chicago, for instance, like we are below them. So remember that. Keep that in mind. Although it's pretty crowded at the bottom. Please also keep that in mind. Keep those 2 things in mind.
It's basically like being poor versus lower middle class at this point for DC. There's not much difference.
We are 3 points from the playoffs with the same amount of games in hand. Atlanta United's at 28 points, and we're at 26 points in 15. The bottom table is this will change. This table will not be the same. Take a picture of it now. It will not be what you see at the end of the season. Guaranteed.
And they could surprise me. They could go on a run. They're still alive in the playoffs. I just feel like the way the schedule is lining up, what I saw last night, this team is very much, I think, even more now kind of in just this kind of like half built state, where Lassane's going to be trying different things. He's going to be maybe trying to shift some things around, move some players around, try some different formations. Really sort of seeing what's going to be sort of the next step for this team. We'll talk about a big player who's returning next year. We'll get into that a little bit, sort of after we review the game. And this feels like, he is saying, we want to make the playoffs, but also if we end up learning more things that I can sort of take forward next year, I'm not losing my job. And I think that's the right call.
Yep.
I'm going to be here next year. So I'm going to use this opportunity to try some things out, take maybe some more short-term pain with the understanding that, Benteke will be here next year. We'll have a whole slew of roster space to use.
I got to tell you, next year we are going to be, I won't speak for both of us, but I'll speak for myself. I'm going to be extremely hard on this team and how they perform next year. After we will, I think at that point have fully walked away from the salary cap as a shield for against complaint. That's done. That will be over. And then it's all about who, what have you done for me lately? And if we're sitting in last place with 8 games to go next year, I'm going to be pulling my hair out, whatever's left of it.
If we're sitting in last place each year, Troy Lasane will not be
Get out of here
next year.
Nope.
Yeah, guaranteed.
By the way, we have the second worst defense in all of MLS, and we are tied for second to worst with Montreal, and only because Montreal lost 5-0 this weekend. So we the goal differential situation is no bueno. Only San Jose is worse, who have conceded somehow 7 more goals than us, 61 goals. That's bananas. That's really really bad.
Yeah.
Awful.
So yeah, it's been a poor defense, but again, it's also been a defense that's like, you look at areas on the field that have moved around the most. It's been the defensive line. It's been the goalkeeper.
Sure.
It's been center backs. It's been injuries. It's been
look at this game's starting lineup as a good example. Your back line is David Schnegg, who did not exist in the minds of DC United fans a month and a half ago. Lucas Bartlett, who was brought over to be a depth player from St. Louis. Mattia Cambone, I think. Well, I mean, reasonably. Like, you weren't expecting him to be your every week starter the way he has been and earn a new contract, which he has. And then Christian Dome playing right back.
Yeah.
You would not have if you threw all the pieces on the floor like tiles, like Scrabble tiles, you would not have spelled this back line.
Yeah. And, I think we talk about the team defensively being a mess. Offensively, they've looked pretty good. And I feel like they have improved significantly over this year. It was, middle of the year, it was definitely kind of one note. As guys have stayed healthy, as players have stayed healthy, I think it's gotten a lot better. But let's get into the match. Let's talk this game a little bit. I think there's a lot to dissect here. I think there's a lot to discuss. I know there are going to be people in the chat and people who are going to be wondering what my thought of the referee performance is. I'll get into that in a little bit. But let's start. DC opens the game right off the bat hot. I remember I was driving back from Richmond at the time, listening to Dave Johnson on the call, and it was like right off the bat they scored a goal, and I'm like, here we go, man, we're rolling now. This is it. This is Benteke's got his new contract, everything. We're on a heater. We're gonna go on a heater. And
did you hear him? Did you hear him make him say our name on the
the
broadcast?
Oh yeah, good. Of course I did. Of course I did.
Good. Making sure.
You said like I was like, oh, there's John posting on the.
Yep, gotta do it every time. Posting on we're getting on the air.
Posting on the forum. But overall, and again, I watched the game later, again, hot start for this team. I think it's great. Ted DiPietro, I want to give a small shout out. I think that assist right there shows why Ted DiPietro, because I think there was some discussion amongst some fans is like, everybody's like, maybe, particularly I think after the Mazatlan game was like, everybody was like, Pirani should start. Ted DiPietro should be like on the bench. And like, some fans were talking it. I'm just saying they were talking about it.
My blood pressure. I think Ted's trying to make me crash out here.
And I will show you, and I will talk about a moment in this game where it shows. I think the assist that Ted DiPietro has, and a play late in the game from Pirani, highlight why Ted DiPietro's out there on the field, because I think it's a wonderful assist. He knows what he was going to do. Is it a little bit fortunate? Sure, but he makes the effort to sort of lift that ball over the top. He knows Benteke's there. Benteke does what Benteke does. Jumps over to the fence, heads the ball in the back of the net. I believe it comes off kind of a broken set play a little bit, if I recall correctly. So overall, a nice run out, nice play, good goal. I think here we go. We're on a run. Game kind of settles down into a little bit of a rut, but I think for the most part, DC were finding chances. They were moving the ball, I believe. I think Mateus Click as well had a couple chances that were pretty excellent. And he, got the ball into the box, and I think he had one shot that was nicely saved. He had a couple other opportunities. Ted DiPietro as well, I think, also had an opportunity. I'm not sure if that was when they were down 2-1 or 1-1, but this was not like a game where FC Dallas were running away with it. FC Dallas got back into this game and ended up kind of running away with it once they were able to just execute on set plays for the first game. So let's talk about that. What were your?
It was like they had never done practice for set pieces in their entire life. There was the first goal that cracked me up the most was when Dom Baji was standing at the back post guarding absolutely no one after it was very clear that they were not going to run that sort of a set play. And he probably could have moved off and found someone to mark, but just kind of stayed glued to that post, which was unfortunate there. They were every single time they looked. I was talking to Jason Anderson this weekend, and it was a situation where a FC Dallas fan talked to him and was like, what is going on here? It's basically like every goal DC United scored that FC Dallas should have done better on, and every goal that FC Dallas scored, DC United should have done better on. It was just like a situation of like, these are two not very good teams that are somehow scored 7 goals in this game. And that is true. That's kind of what happened. It was an improbable outcome based on, everything we know about these two teams.
It's even a little more embarrassing for DC because Peter Musa, their FC Dallas's big time designated player striker, was out of this game, and this is a team that has struggled to score goals. And so right away you would think, they would do better. I will say on that set play, it was run very well. it was definitely, if you watch it again, it was very much kind of almost a design pick where they sort of threw two bodies at they went for the 17-year-old center defender in Mateo Cambone. I don't really blame him too much. He got hosed on a couple of chances, I believe, in this game, where he was kind of left to hung out to dry. And basically, he was caught between two players. They kind of used one player as sort of a pick or a shield. Ball went, over, and he's wide open and finishes the ball. Like you said, Baji might have been able to do better. Maybe he steps a little sooner, sort of recognizes the open man, maybe can provide a little bit more of a challenge on the play. I think that's appropriate. I don't know. As a team, you're trying to get all these new players in, you're trying to get all this talent in, you're trying to, integrate them. I am sure that like set pieces may be like far down the list of things that you're looking at this year. So it needs to be better. I'm sure, they'll talk about it. And, full credit to FC Dallas, who I think just kind of realized the weakness that DC had on this.
We should also
got their Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was saying the second goal also came not directly from a set piece, but off sort of a broken sort of set piece play. So
I think the game was at risk when the starting lineup came out and Christian Dahomey was back to right back. If you recall, if you've been watching this team the last couple months, Christian Dahomey went from being a player who I would scream if I saw him in the team sheet when he was in the defense by necessity, to a player who was valuable and somewhat useful when he was further up on the field with no defensive responsibilities. Unfortunately for him, he got pushed back there again because Aaron Herrera had I think a respiratory situation. I don't remember what this illness was. And he got picked on the whole night. I mean, obviously the goals resulted in a lot of times from set pieces, but really Dahomey was a bit of a mess, and other players had to cover for him. Did the second yellow card come from Dahomey being out of position? Like, why did he make that tackle? What was the defensive backline situation? Do you remember? Have you seen the replay enough times? I don't remember anymore.
I'll have to go back and look at it again, but it came off. It was off a DC set play, and basically, I think we saw this too. If I recall correctly, we watched DC played FC Dallas in a preseason game, and we saw like a similar thing. So again, not a lot of the same guys were there, but yeah, basically the
probably three of them, maybe looking at this lineup.
Maybe three of them. You're right about that. Basically, yeah, DC got kind of pulled out on a set play, and basically just Eno was the player back there. I think he kind of does a half dive, thinking that he's just gonna like try to get in the way, and whoever the attacker was, I can't remember his name, is just gonna dribble around him. The attacker's like, nope, I know that you're on a yellow, so I'm going to go right for you, trip you, and you're gonna get and we're gonna, your team's gonna be down to 10 men, and we're probably gonna walk away with 3 points after that. So it was kind of a broken set play. He was put in a bad position. I think at this point you do have to look at him a little bit and say, hey man, you're on a yellow.
Yeah, be smart.
Be smart. Maybe try to go towards him, and he plays a long ball, maybe like half dive in, but don't like fully dive in. Try to like immediately get out of the way, and essentially make him push the ball. He pushed the ball ahead of him and really far away, when there was a DC player, I can't remember who, streaking back, who would have probably recovered it, and I think it would have ended up being okay. But ultimately, what are you going to do? But back to I guess Christian Dahomey. Yeah, he had a rough showing there. I find it really hard to be so rough on him because it's not his natural role, and he's not really a.
No, well, I'm not mad at him. I'm sort of mad at the situation that presents. I think we've had people on Twitter talking about what is the deal here where we don't have coverage. We made a move in the preseason at the USL level to get coverage. Connor Antley came in and would have probably been the player for that spot. After he went down, there was no. I feel like he probably could have done another one of those situations. Another sort of not. I will not call it what I call it at the beginning of the season, something diving. I will not call it that, but I will think that there are USL opportunities for them to bring in another low cost roster spot at a fullback position. And we talked about before, like, is that wise or is that not wise? But I think that I think you're not helping your team's development by putting Christian Dahomey back there. It doesn't help him. It doesn't help the team. If you're able to find somebody that could fill that spot for 6 months at the USL level on a 6-month contract, I think maybe that would have been the move, but we didn't do that. So this is if someone gets hurt or someone's sick, Aaron Herrera has been injured this season. He has been suspended. He has been on international duty. There have been times where we have been short at the fullback position, and that's due to decisions made at the beginning of the year, but also injuries.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I disagree a little bit that it doesn't help the team, and at this time, I mean, it's pretty clear Christian Dahomey won't be back next year, so I don't really
That's
care.
not what we
about,
said a month ago.
I mean, I've never really seriously. I've said maybe you think about it, but at the end of the day, if it stays at this level, he is the first chopping block. He has this huge amount of salary cap. If you can negotiate it lower, maybe. But
to be clear, I said
maybe someone will check the take. Yeah. So I mean, he's effective at attacking wise. I think you could find a better player to fill that role. I think you'd also find some other depth positions out there. We talked about next pro team. The lack of an next pro team is hurting this team. I don't think it was a bad move. I think it allowed. I think it putting him there, yes, played him out of position and allowed everybody else to play sort of their best positions. Everybody else in that field was in a natural role. And I think every one of those players out there, Borisino, David Schnegg, Matej Akambone, Lucas Bartlett, Mateus Click, maybe not, but he's also your designated player, maybe still trying to assess him a little bit. And then you look at other players that are out there. All of those players still are going to be here next year. Dahomey probably will not be here next year. So I think if you get rid of him in this lineup and try to contort another lineup, you're then not maybe doing your team a service.
You would have put
seeing
Garrison
how's
Tubbs
the other. What's that?
The move would have been you would have played three center backs, put Garrison Tubbs in for Dahomey, have Bartlett, Akambone, and Tubbs, and then Stroud and Schnegg are your fullbacks. But
or your wingbacks.
That's not the way you wanted to go, and that's totally fine. That's legit. We didn't want to pay 2 6s either. So
let's talk Borisy now, because I think we kind of talked a little pre-show about him.
Yep.
I knew he had picked up the red, so I didn't really get a chance to watch him. When I'm watching the second half, I watched him in the first half. I can see. I'm not saying he was perfect. I'm not saying. I mean, obviously not perfect. You get sent off in a game, you're not perfect. But a lot of what I saw from him was I can see what Mackay sees. I can see the work ethic, the work rate. He was making some great vision, some great passes to sort of switch the attack. He was sort of looking to connect, looking to be that kind of connector. I came away thinking it's rough around the edges, but I can see why Mackay really went after this guy this window.
I think you could see good Knaus in Borisy now. I think like standalone 6 that has some talents and ability to pass the ball. I think they're that's a similar comp for DC United fans in the past. So I think it's good. Overall, I think he is the kind of player we need right now. We don't have enough of. He's a little bit more physical, Matty Pitola, and probably not as great at passing range. But as far as what he brings to the 6, he just has to make better decisions. He had to make a better decision. We can't hold that against him. Many players have. I think I called it on Twitter the biggest. No, I think the Jared Stroud pass was the biggest self-inflicted wound since Ola Kamara's red card, I think I said. But there were 2 of them. Borisy now's a bad tackle decision and Jared Stroud's pass back. But then he scored later, so I could give him. We could write that off. But yeah, I think it's something to get excited about long term. Speaking of Russell Knaus, apparently he may come back and play towards the end of the year, which is kind of crazy because I don't think that was in anyone's expectations. But I think you and I are both decently happy with his performance so far. The red card to decide.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting. They left him. They did not. They could have, and I kind of wonder about this decision. I'm like, he takes up a lot of salary cap. They apparently did not put him on the season-ending injury list, which they easily could have done. So there's no issue for them trying to reactivate him or to try to scramble for salary room or figure something else out. He's actually not been on the season-ending injury list for this team, which they could have done, and they could have freed up a lot of cap space for them. So yeah, interesting about where they sort of value him and where they sort of be in this team, and maybe that was kind of like a check for themselves to be like, we're going to put this weight on us because we're not going to panic this year. We're not going to make any rash decisions. And if we want to bring back Knaus, we want to bring him back, and we don't want to have to do a bunch of things and be crazy, so to speak. So interesting to talk about. Yeah, again, I thought there was a lot of good I saw in it. The injuries, the red card's unfortunate. He will be out next week, and then he is going to play for Senegal the week after. So
which we talked
he
about.
won't be
It's
back
funny
till the
because
14th.
he's had no previous international senior team caps until now when he misses time with us. So womp womp womp. That's a good news, actually.
I mean,
I'm glad for him.
Yeah. Yeah, good news. Earning a transfer can make a difference and can help those things out. But again, unfortunately, he won't be here. We get Matty Patola, who I thought came in looked really good. Again, I still think he is a player that I do feel like they maybe have brought in Borussia now. I'm not sure they're going to completely bench Matty Patola. I'm not sure if it's going to be an either or situation. I think the future will be. And this is why I think when Borussia came on here, I said I think Matthias Klick's days are numbered, because I think they really want to do is they want to be able to play Patola and Enau as kind of a double pivot sort of number 10. Allows them, then they can go get a good center back, then they can kind of lock things down defensively, and then they can go out and get just a pure attacking number 10, not a 10-8 hybrid type player. They're just going to go get a pure number 10 attacking player and have either one of those guys just kind of link up with that number 10. So
you think Klick is out?
That's my I think this, unless again, if they get him on a TAM deal, maybe, but I do not see him as this team's DP. I can see them the flexibility they get. They can obviously buy down Patola. They can keep his young designated player contract. They can go for the two DPs with their supposed to DP maybe coming this winter, and then having Benteke, and then having 4 U22 slots they can use, and then an extra $1 million in GAM. McKay's talked a lot about that. I think there's a lot of flexibility that you potentially get with the roster. And I think this year will be all about flexibility. And I think it's somewhat poignant that they have, committed to Benteke, but they've kind of left it a little bit, silent or open maybe with Matthias Klick. So
I think you're right about the double pivot, and that sort of obviates the need for Klick. I think Klick would be too expensive of a player to have as a change of pace or formational. You want him if you're going to maybe change sometimes to get rid of the double pivot and have a box to box midfielder being part of it. I think having Enau, Peltola, and if you could get back Knaus on a lesser deal than he's on now, which maybe he probably doesn't want to do. If you're able to have that sort of triumvirate being your rotation there in that double six, I think you're in a pretty good spot. I think finding a 10 would be obviously of utmost importance there, and I think I trust Mackay to do that now after a number of other couple pretty good moves.
Yeah,
there's a question here.
Go ahead.
There was a question here. Can you expand on the changes Troy made at halftime that made us look 1,000% better with a man down in the second half? I also talked to Jason about this, and we were saying how in the past, typically, particularly under Wayne Rooney, when DC United was down a man, they just played a ghost man in the formation. They didn't change anything else. If they were in a 4-4-2, they played a 4-4-1, and they said, "We're just gonna hope it works out, guys." But that's not what happened. I think Martin Rodriguez and Pedro Santos on the left-hand side late in the second half were interchanging and being dynamic when they didn't have the ball. They were pushing forward. It was in a game where a 4-3 loss you should potentially are having struggles finding what's the positive to take away from this. I think tactically that was something that I was pretty excited about. I thought that was good mentality. That was also actually trying to do something different and finding a formation that works with a hole in it versus just saying, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. And just to give a hint, they brought off the halftime subs. They brought on Matty Patola. They brought on Aaron Herrera. And by the way, I think people are wondering, if Aaron Herrera can go for a half, why not play him for the first half instead of I do not think instead of Dahomey. Yeah. I think if you kind of watching this game and go watch the second half again, I think there was a moment, I think late in that second half where like Aaron Herrera had his hands on his knees and he was just beat after 45 minutes. So that he was not 100%. I think it was out of necessity. I think it was out of, we needed to get this done. This has to happen. Dome has not been good. We need to have Herrera out there. And Herrera was, again, very good. I think a part of that, kind of solidifying that right side and helping the team sort of be strong defensively, because, and again, they didn't have to push it, but Dallas didn't really get too much in that second half. There only were a couple moments, and I think I want to call out, I thought Patola was good, but there was a moment in this game, I think it was like a 3-on-2 with in the team, and I think this is one of like the only real like good chances Dallas had, and like the whole like midfield was just kind of jogging at a leisurely pace back as like the team was like struggling to like defend. And that just kind of like, that irked me. I was like, what are you doing? Get back. Like, someone has like, and that looked, I realized, I looked at Matty Patola and I was like, you got to get back there, bud. He did a lot of other things I thought that were really well, but
yeah, in 45 minutes, you got to run the whole time. Got to commit to it. Martin Rodriguez looked pretty good. Somebody else commented here saying he should get more playing time. I think that's fair. That's a shout. I think he came in immediately, won a dangerous free kick. He had completed like 25 passes in 45 minutes, which is more than a few of the other players that had played longer. 4 passes into the final third, 3 for 3 on long balls. Was active defensively, had 7 actions and 6 recoveries, again in 45 minutes. Yeah, I mean, he looked looked like he had a lot of energy getting on the field right away. And I think too, we'll talk about it maybe in a second. There was a conversation that Troy had with some supporters, and Martin Rodriguez got brought up, basically saying like things were, and he wasn't going to get into it. At the beginning of the year were challenging. I think he was a want away. I think he wanted to go to Colo Colo. I think he didn't want to play in the position he was playing in. I think maybe he wanted an extension. All of these are just guessing. If he wasn't going to move, he wanted more money probably. But then he had to play, and then he played well, and he's gotten more and more minutes. It's been up and down, I think, probably through the season. I think if you look at the lineup that we're starting with, there's not a spot that you'd say for sure he's got to be put in. Like, I think having Baji up there is helping Ted a lot. I think having to not play the position, not playing a second striker, and having somebody else draw some more attention enables him to have more space, and I think that's great. I don't know where else you really slot in Lucas. That's the place you put him, and I don't really want to put him there, I don't think.
Yeah, and that's I think that's the problem with Martin Rodriguez right now, is that Click is out there. Click's, and there are people that have opinions on Mateus Click. I would argue that when Mateus Click is not out there, I've always looked infinitely worse than when he is out there. He does a lot of things I think that don't get attention other than some of the plays he did. And I thought he was pretty good. He was really good in this game for that first half. Had a lot of great moments. Looked very, very lively. And I think having a guy like Borisy now in there, I think definitely helped a little bit, maybe free him up a little bit. He's going to be the guy that's going to kind of run around and do the things. So again, I thought he looked really good. What's hilarious? I was looking at, I know football. I talk about football ratings. I have it up right now. Borisy now picked up a red card as a 5.7. Again, not great. A Dahomey has a 5.1. So
no red card.
No red card. So yeah, not a great night for him. One thing I want to say, I want to talk a little bit about David Schnegg. Obviously gets a goal. Great for him. He picks up his first goal. I thought he was certainly a little rough to start the game. I think maybe he struggled. I think he struggled a little bit trying to be compact versus going to maybe try to challenge Ruan a little bit. And I think kind of giving Ruan that space to sort of send the cross in maybe wasn't the best idea. He adjusted very well in the second half. I thought he was much, much better in the second half. Again, down a man. He picks up
Ruan?
the goal. He looked, Schnegg.
Schnegg, sorry.
Yeah, Schnegg. But I think also that's, maybe him adjusting a little bit. I've seen enough from him to say I think he's been a solid pickup. I'm looking forward to seeing more of him. Hopefully with, an actual Schnegg Herrera tandem sort of on that left and right.
I think it's very funny that Ruan has 4 assists all year, and 2 of them are against us on 2 different teams. He got an assist for Montreal, and he got an assist now for Dallas as well. That's just amazing.
Yeah,
Ruan really making us Ruan the day that we moved him on for Aaron Herrera.
Yeah, well, I still think it's fine.
It is. I just funny that he is very fast. That is still true.
One more. one more little chat is Matej Akambone. I am possibly. I don't think any of the goals he was hung out to dry on the free kick. The um the situation where Stroud gave up the ball, while unfortunate, and he kind of gets caught a little bit. I think both him and Bartlett kind of, one person should be tracking a man, one person should be going for the ball. They kind of both go for the ball and leave basically wide open either side. But overall, like I'm starting to, I kind of noticed him out there doing a lot more sort of adult type things. I kind of want to ride this out a little bit. I'm kind of in the mood in the even if when McVay comes back, who again wasn't on the bench,
And
I'm
also,
kind
and
of
also
willing at
was,
this point.
and also Troy called him kind of meh, according to the notes.
He said okay. He's been okay.
I translate meh to okay. That's how I create a license.
Dude makes $200 and some $1,000, which I guess I think Bartlett's like was an $80,000. He got a new contract, by the way. Congratulations to him. I don't know if we haven't definitely not talked about that on the show.
Nope.
I hope he got at least a little bit of a pay bump.
He definitely did.
Goodness
There's
gracious,
without a doubt that he did.
Goodness gracious, living $80,000 a year in Northern Virginia, I can't even imagine.
It's a struggle.
Yeah, but Akambone, I thought was. I'm starting to see more signs. Still 17. Still needs to work out of it, but I'm almost at the point now where I'm just like, you know what? Like, I'm kind of up for just, giving, he gets another offseason, he gets another preseason. Like, I'm kind of up for just starting him the rest of the year. It might not do well for our playoff chances. Maybe a McVay helps us out, but I'm kind of in the mood of like, maybe we ride this guy a little bit, and, next year he comes in and he plays like, a top level U22, under 22, like starts being in that like top 10 of the list. So I kind of want to see it. And I think, Matt Doyle's talked about it a lot with him, saying like, this guy has a high ceiling and he needs minutes. He doesn't have an ex-pro team he can go to. He can probably go back to Loudoun, but I mean, why? He clearly is like above Loudoun at this point. Why not just ride it out a little bit?
Hey, now,
what's that?
Loudoun is like fifth in the table. I don't know for sure that any right now, if we're talking about teams other than the Spirit, Loudoun is handling the business here at the USL Championship level. So we got to at least give them some respect on their name there. You didn't mention the thing that Pirani did that sucked. So talk about that. I always enjoy
that. You do enjoy that, don't you? So I think this to me kind of, well, it understills like the frustration of Pirani for me. And he gets the ball, like it's a tie game. He gets the ball in midfield, and to his credit, makes an excellent dribble, beats a guy on the dribble. It says Teku Pietro has the freedom to run around the field. Pirani is better with that role. I disagree, and I think he had freedom to roam in this game, and he showed again that his biggest flaw is not, he has incredibly technical. He can dribble the ball. He can move the ball. He can do a lot of good things pretty well with it. But he gets into that final spot. And, I find it funny. Watch Benteke. Watch Benteke when Pirani has the ball and Pirani makes a decision and it's the wrong decision or it doesn't result in a goal versus like when Ted does it. Ted takes a quick shot inside the box, goes over the bar, but, no real reaction from Benteke. Pirani dribbles the ball. Benteke is in a spot where maybe he can make a play or maybe he can make a run. Instead, Pirani shoots the ball, trying to play hero ball, and sails it over the bar. And Benteke has the like big, again, later in the game, but Benteke has just like the biggest, like, oh my God, like you putz, what are you doing?
Benteke was fired up a lot of the game. He was yelling at Jared Stroud for not closing down early in the game, just like screaming at him in like the 20th minute. Which I like to see, honestly. I think it's really good that your highest paid player, who is your best player, is extremely fired up at all points of the game. I think that's great. But to your point, Pirani does not have the equity built up with the good players to be able to make mistakes, which is a bad situation for a young player who's trying to get his way onto the team. But you gotta play smart and conservative before you can start to shoot outside the 18 and crush it over the bar.
And people, I think, get a little lost because they see some of that stuff and he passes the eye test, but the dude just does not create chances. And he is a number 10. He has the number 10 on the back of his jersey, just like this thing I'm wearing that says Marco Echeverry. Marco Echeverri knew when to shoot. He also knew when the pass was available and when the opportunity was available to create a chance for Jaime Moreno, to create a chance for Raul Diaz-Arce. We talk about Christian Gomez, same thing. He could score goals, but he knew how to create the chance. Pirani doesn't do that. So anybody talking here about how Pirani, and maybe he develops it, I don't know. He's probably going to be here next year. Maybe there's some come to Jesus moment, or there's something where he just finally all clicks for him. But yeah, and someone said that number 10 needs to be reassigned next year. I don't know if it will, but maybe. I don't know.
It should be.
But yeah, no, it's disappointing from him. And it seems like I saw that run and it kind of got me off my seat. I'm like, oh, maybe he does something here. Maybe this is the moment where Pirani, maybe this, like the game against Santos where he looked like Ronaldinho out there, like passing, creating chances, like moving the ball. I think he actually had a created chance. So I'm like, maybe this is the moment. And then he just dribbles the ball up the field, looks at halfway, takes a bad shot over the bar. And I'm just like, nope, same player. So yeah. All right. I think that does it. Anything else you want to talk about with this game? I think I've covered everything I kind of wanted to cover. Frustrating, but I think encouraging that the team didn't fold. There's one game this year they kind of folded, and that was against Orlando. And that was also a game where like we were on like our third game of playing 13 players. Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah, I think it is. I'm starting to sense the vibes from a lot of the, Twitter is Twitter, but like people are getting really, really tired and cranky about things right now. And I get it, particularly if you've not been like super in tune and bought into the process, that thinking this was going to be a process year versus a competitive year. But it's a broken record to talk about sort of finding good and bad, but this team does this a lot. It's like the most frustrating thing about this team, and also the light at the end of the tunnel. There's no way you'd rather have the Wayne Rooney team of last year than this one. There just isn't. You're lying to yourself if you think that. This team has had for every like boneheaded, stupid like defensive miscue that costs this team points, or they're in a winning position and then they end up drawing. There have been so many more exciting attacking moments. There has been like spirited comeback. There have been, just grit in the face of really negative circumstances that tell you that this team is somehow on the right track, even though they're at the bottom of the table. This is a weird season. The table is condensed. The gap between the haves and the have-nots is shrinking. So if you just look at the table and didn't watch the games and didn't know any better, you think here, this year, same as every other year, we're the worst. The owners are cheap, whatever. But if you've been watching all these games and you stick with it the entire time, you got to realize it's just not, the narrative has changed, even though the results are what they are. It's hard, and it's a complex point to make and understand and communicate. But that is the reality if you're really watching this team and looking towards the future.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's hard. You can't explain to by, well, they have all these cap issues. They have all this stuff. Everybody can say, oh, excuses. I've been accused of that. I've been accused of saying that.
Same.
This is a team you have to kind of look deeper. You have to look at the whole picture. And again, this is not us saying things are going to be better. This team could be right back where they are. It could very easily happen. They could sign the wrong players, despite some good signs that it feels like McKay's maybe bringing some different ideas. He's looking in different places. He's able to convince people to come to this team that maybe where Dave Casper just couldn't. I think this team needed a year to really just kind of, keep competitive, because this team has been competitive, but also don't swing too much or try to, plug up holes, maybe let the boat sink and then, dig the boat out for the next year, fix it properly, and then have it set sail again. So, and that's a tough thing to do when you have a team that's been this bad. And I fully understand fans that are like, I don't know if I'll buy season tickets next year. I don't know how much more I can put up with this. My reaction is always don't, because this is, and see what happens next year. This team might turn it around. They might be completely different. Yeah. So
I warn you I warn you to drop them next year. This was the year to drop them. I think next year is going to be an improvement year, which means that when you buy back in, because you're always going to buy back in, you're going to pay more than you were originally, because I think that's just the way it always goes. Like, say, very possible, as trends continue in the same direction, for this team to be in the playoffs next year. We expect it. Like, we expect there to be finally another home playoff game potentially. So just know
Yeah.
if you're buying back in 26, you're gonna kind of regret it financially.
Yeah, we expect improvement next year. Might not happen, but we definitely expect it. This team's gonna have a lot of cap space that they can use, so they need to use it.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about one of those players that will be back. I want to drop a little bit. Christian Benteke signing a 1-year deal. So 1-year deal for next year, option for 2026. This is something we've talked about. What will be the direction this team goes. You have Click, Benteke, all were on the last year of their contract. You signed Patola as a DP, really in name only. A lot of people have said, well, Patola can go to a U22 contract. No, he can't. He makes too much money. Stamp that out right now. Patola cannot go back and be a U22 initiative player. He makes above, because he's a DP, he makes above the max roster budget. Part of the U22 initiative, you can spend whatever you want on transfer, has to be underneath the roster maximum. But the idea was, well, buy him down with TAM, and then you suddenly have 3. You could potentially, McKay could have gone this year, said, we've got 3 open DP slots we're going to use. He doesn't do that. We know for a fact Christian Benteke will be back. He will be a designated player. He gets a pay bump for this year. I think there's some people, I think a lot of people are for it. The guy has 17 goals. He's had a better year than last year. He might be the first player to break 20 goals. In fact, I think he will be the first DC player to break 20 goals since Luciano Emilio did it in 2007. He is the first player that has had, and again, I'm using 14 goals is what he scored last year. He has 17 this year. The last time DC had a player that had 2 back-to-back seasons with at least 14 goals. Do you want to know who it was?
Wasn't Ola Kamara?
It was not Ola Kamara. It was Roy Lassiter. Roy Lassiter, 98 and 99. Yeah, so long time. DC's that player that have had, flash in the pans. Luciano Emilio had 20 goals and then had like 10 the next year. So it sort of undersells, like, at this point, and I think this is what Mackay is going with. Yes, he's looking at Benteke's age. Yes, maybe this might be the year he slows down. At the same time, you can also go out there. You have a winter window, which is usually very difficult to go sign big time players. You have a guy already that's producing well, scoring goals. You've built a team around them. He believes in the project. He's able to, at the very least, be an influence on a lot of the players out there. This guy's our captain next year. And I think it's a statement to say, you know what, we're going to solidify him. He's going to be back here next year. We think that we can get a team around him of players in this winter window that we can be successful, and we can be a competitive playoff team. We can maybe push, for at least to maybe the mid, maybe upper echelon of DC. And then next year you reassess, maybe if he struggles a little bit, maybe with injury, you have that option to say, okay, we're done here. Now let's go find out that new DP with some of this roster we built. So I think it's a good call. I think it's a good signing.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with it.
Okay.
Let's talk NWSL before I think we're running a little bit long tonight, so I want to make sure we get some NWSL in here.
It's been a long time, man. We gotta get back in the groove. Gotta get back in the groove.
We're in it now. We'll be back here next week for sure.
Yes. Let's talk NWSL. First things first.
I want to talk about the CBA that was agreed to in the NWSL. The NWSL Players Association, before their deal expired, went back and said, "Hey, let's do this again." This was after the $250 million media deal got signed. After the last CBA got signed, I said, "Wait a second, hold on. Can we get a redo?" And they got a redo, but lots of stuff in here. Salary caps going up a pretty sizable amount over the course of the deal, like $1 million a year. It's still way too low. It's still it's going to cap at like $6 million. That aside, the big thing that we're talking about here is no more draft, no more college draft. It's over now. They didn't even ramp it up. It's done. No more college draft, and no trades without all players agreeing to the trades. Let's talk about both of those things. I think they're both important. No trades without agreement. I think that you get U.S. brain, you get like America brained in sports sometimes about sort of what's acceptable and what's not. If you're listening to this show, in Europe, if a team wants to transfer you and you don't want to go, you don't go. You got a contract, you don't leave. There's ways to make that happen. There's ways to and usually it's financial. It's a financial lubricant that gets you to agree to a deal to go somewhere. But otherwise, you have a contract, you stay where you're at. Here, we have been sort of just beaten into submission. They're like, it's a business. You get traded, you go. You can't complain at all. You just get a backpack. And if they tell you that you're going to play tomorrow for another team, you get to do that. There's nothing else you can do about it. And just because that's the way it's been doesn't mean that's the best way that it could be. And the NWSL for the first time is saying, like, let's build the version of this that we want versus just what is it like everywhere else. So I think that's cool. I think that's looking at teams like the Spirit, looking at Ashley Sanchez being traded in the offseason and being blindsided about it. If she were asked now, do you want to be traded? Would she accept that deal? If not, would she accept it somewhere else? If that doesn't happen, do we get Croy Bethune? What is this team? There's a whole bunch of. It's just a completely different scenario that makes. I would say it will challenge general managers to be better, to really figure out ways to get players in the right spots for both them and for the team. The other thing that GMs are going to have to get better at is scouting, because there's no more college draft. Every eligible player, as soon as they declare for their availability, they forgo the rest of their college career if they want to leave early or they finish college. They're eligible to sign with any team they want. The one thing that makes me laugh about that is there were a whole bunch of teams, I think, last year that were making deals for future draft considerations, who now just are holding bags of sand that they can do nothing with. There will be new expansion teams who come in, and there will be many, will no longer have the first round draft pick. I believe there is no longer going to be expansion drafts as well. So that's going to be a whole. The NWSL is jumping into a new version of itself in one offseason. Next year is going to be completely different. The rules will change. The mechanisms will change. And is it going to hurt teams like Utah Royals? Are they going to be able to get the best college player to come play for Utah? They will if they pay her the most. But otherwise, this is all redounding to Michelle Kang's long-term strategy about how do I make this place the most attractive to be in a salary-constrained environment. I know. I hire 7,000 staff. I give players opportunities that they wouldn't get in other places. I take care of their bodies in ways, and their minds and their off-field sort of concerns in ways other teams don't. That's going to make them one of the best destinations for new players, both internationally and in college, in the college ranks. It's a net win for for the Spirit, without a doubt, in my mind. What do you think?
I take a little bit of a, maybe, I don't want to say cynical, but I don't think this is. I think this is purely driven by the fact that there is a new women's league out there, the USL Super League, that has come about. They're Division 1. And we could talk about DC. I think DC Power, we in the DC area, we have the DC Power. We know the situation that league, where that team is, and how they are literally going to be second fiddle, third fiddle between DC, the Spirit, and, really anyone else that appears there. I'm not expecting a lot of people to show up for this game. It's still odd that the team exists, but they're in still a lot of others. Charlotte had a sold out crowd. Spokane had a great crowd.
That's week one.
All these.
That's week one. Talk to me in 3 weeks.
But it shows. I mean, it does show the interest. It shows the. It shows that there is demand for women's soccer out there. But I think it also, they went out with all these things. They had, they were going to have no draft. They were going to have no complete free agency. They're the USL. This is how they operate. They're going into this window. And I think NWSL looked at it and they said, we think that this league, we're not saying this league is a threat, but but right now we instantly become less attractive, because that we have a draft, we trade players at whim. We don't have unrestricted. That's another part about this. Did you talk about there's unrestricted free agency now? When your contract's done, you can sign wherever you want. There's no more offers or whatever. I think it is driven by Michelle Kang and certain other owners in this league that are like, hey, we need to push this forward. We need to. And I think also it's a response to being more competitive in the market as well. being more competitive outside of, being more competitive to other leagues and other locations. If you're a league where you can be traded at whim, you're less likely maybe to sign there unless you get some guarantees in your contract, and you might have to sacrifice money to do that. So I think this is a self-preservation move. I think it is part of a partial response to the Super League in that they want to sort of say like, hey, now you don't have that restriction. I use the argument. I'll use this argument. When the Richmond Kickers were a team, they were the only team in the Richmond area for years. And then this little punky, NPSL team called Richmond FC, RVA FC came in. And for years, the Kickers never sold beer. They said, we're not going to do it. We don't want to be involved in it. This is not something we want to do. We want to be a family friendly environment. So this RVFC thing came and said, hey, we're going to have beer. We're going to, buy a tent. You can go and have a beer at a soccer game. And then immediately the Kickers were like, oh, hey, we're going to have beer now. So we're going to do that. And they have completely expanded. You go to their game now, there is now like 4 different like major beer tents out there. They have like partnered with breweries. They've done all this stuff. I don't think the Kickers were initially maybe really threatened by this team. They probably thought they would go away, but they recognized that suddenly there was an audience to cater to, and they responded because they were no longer the only game in town, even if they didn't feel threatened by it. So
I just look at
that's
the
my thought on it.
rosters of these teams in the USL Super League, and I just think this is a flea on the back of a rhino, as far as concern goes. And I think if those attendance numbers keep up, then I'd start to get concerned. But I don't think that they will. I think they've had 2 years to sell opening weekend for a lot of these clubs. So let's see where they're at in 2 weeks. DC Power,
I think in some
11
markets,
players a week ago.
Yeah, I think in certain markets, they will be successful. I think I'm not expecting DC Power to sell out every game, guys. We'll reassess maybe in a little bit. John and I work full-time jobs. We're very busy. We sometimes struggle to keep up with 2 soccer teams we have to watch every week, let alone
the Patreon is going to have to go crazy for DC Power to get on the list. Just crazy. That's what's going to have to happen.
We're making a pointed decision that we're not the best to cover it. If there are some people out there that want to cover it, please reach out. But yeah, strange things. But I think it's still a flea on the Rhinos' back. But I think also NWSL looked at it and said, we need to make this move now. If we wait too long and suddenly, I think the biggest issue could have been losing college players. I think that was maybe the biggest concern, was losing college players to this USL Super League. If the USL Super League went aggressively after college players. And maybe even getting, there's a lot of, NIL related, like weakening, you could get a player and you could talk to a player and say, hey, we're going to start play in February. And then you get a summer break. You could work out ways in which you could get players in maybe early on without having to pay them. So I don't think they were scared of the USL Super League. I don't think they said, hey, let's make this. We want to make this decision. Let's make it now. We're going to completely undercut the Super League entirely. There is now no difference now really between the leagues, and we're the league that has the most money. So yeah, I have some, that's my, I guess, final thoughts on it. Let's talk. We're gonna go way over. So I apologize for your COVID.
Hope you guys have a long commute tomorrow.
Let's talk Spirit really quick.
Washington Spirit have been waiting for this game all throughout the summer cup, whatever they've called it. This was the concern the whole time, and we finally got to this point. Jonah Geraldes has been talking about this game since he got here, and it was a great game. It was a really, really good game to be a part of. Spirit winning 4-1 over the Current, making the Current look very much not like the second Goliath that was running coast to coast at NWSL this year. Like I said, we've gone long here, but I do want to make sure I get through some stuff here. I think the Paige Mateer starting at right back was a bit of a surprise to everyone. She apparently played there in Richmond when they played there, but it was really a situation of, I think, trying to figure out where to put her. She has had a rough season in midfield. It was not working out for her due to the play style, due to the speed of play, whatever it was. It just wasn't working out for her. So they started her at right back, and I was very curious if that was going to go. The other thing to note, that Lacey Santos got her first start And there was also a question of where she was going to play. Uh, was she going to play in the 10? Was she going to play on the wing? They put her as the 10 and pushed Croy out left, which I think is something to watch because Croy has excelled being a player who has the ball at her feet much of the game, is the fulcrum of the attack, has probably the most touches usually other than Trinity Rodman or maybe Aubrey on the team. And to accommodate Lacey Santos's skill, they had to move her around. So I think there's going to be some interchange there. After the game, Geraldo was talking about the fact that left wing and the 10 in his system have the same point of engagement, the same line of engagement. That they will move back and forth a lot. It's a very similar position, but I would think it'll be interesting to keep an eye on that sort of fact. Where what does the utilization look like for Croy? Geraldo also talked about he was on a podcast last week talking about Bethune and was basically like, we need to take some pressure off of her. She does not need to be as a rookie, does not need to be the player that is, the straw stirring the drink every single week. She does not have to have the offensive move that creates the goal every single week. So interesting as you're looking at sort of how the game played out and where she was. Yeah, also the surprise was Trinity Rodman was back and in the starting lineup. She was one of the last returners, as Casey Kruger and her were, featuring frequently in the Olympics, so they had more time due to sort of CBA rules around how long you get until you come back. But she was there and she played 80 minutes. She probably could have played 90. Such is the physical freak nature of Trinity Rodman and the way that she's able to deliver and play the whole time. I want to draw out. Did you get a chance to get deep in the game? If not, I'm just going to basically talk through the game, Ted.
No, I watched the game. I watched the whole
great.
game. I definitely have some thoughts. I thought Paige Mateer was like revolutionarily excellent in right back. And it may be, I'm not sure, maybe you bench a Canadian national team player in Gabby Carl, but it certainly made it interesting where it's kind of like you start to think a little bit because she was really, really good in a lot of different ways. The goal was excellent. The dribble, the way she just kind of dribbled the whole defense. I feel like you talked about, I feel like the style, the reason she was so good last year was the style was very different. It was a very much a, counterattack type of team. So you had to rely a lot more on her defensive qualities.
Yep.
And then kind of a quick pass out. There wasn't, a lot of fast movement, a lot of fast dribbling. She has to play now a more possession style game, which fits Hal Hirschfeld a lot better. And she was also excellent in this game. She was, I contend that everybody's talking about, singing the praises of Corbin Albert. I'm like, wait till Hal Hirschfeld steps up. I think she's going to be better than Corbin Albert in so many ways. Her work ethic is excellent. Her ability to hit that pass, to move the ball, she can do kind of I think a lot of the things that Corbin Albert can do. And I think she also brings maybe a little bit more of a work ethic to it. And I think that's something that you can get out of a number 6. So I'm super psyched once she starts to see the field a little bit more. She was excellent. The one thing I want to talk about the goal is I feel like Sarah's gotten this, she divides the fan base. And I think it's because a lot of people like Ashley Hatch. I love Ashley Hatch. The goal, she doesn't do anything really spectacular that creates this goal, but I thought it was very interesting. She sees, Paige Mateer dribbling. She's making a run to open up space, but what she's also doing is drawing the defender out and leaving a perfect lane opening. And that's not maybe the best run that you want to make. Maybe the best run would have been to maybe cut to the outside and then you facing the goal. She kind of takes herself out, a little bit out of the play. She's still an option if Paige Mateer wants to play that. But what it does most of all is it basically clears a lane where if Paige Mateer can get a shot off and get it hard enough and low, she can potentially score a goal, and that's what happened. So I thought that was a fantastic run from Sar. I thought she was really, really good in this game. Of course, gets the goal. So I mean, those were kind of the main things I wanted to sort of highlight in this game that I really enjoyed and what I really liked.
Lacey Santos looks phenomenal as a player. Mm-hmm. She has a wonderful vision. She has, Geraldo says she was a little rough actually, and that she'll be a lot better than she was. Which is great.
I agree with that a little bit. Yeah,
which is great.
I thought it was a little bit rough.
Considering a goal and an assist and a debut against, again, Kansas City Current are not a pushover team. If you look at this roster, you should be concerned. Typically, but that's just not the way it went. Corey Bethune, despite being put out of her normal position, I want to talk about her assist. The goal that Sarr scored was really nice, but Bethune, I was sort of whispering in my mind, telling her to shoot as she was dribbling the ball, as she intercepted it and pushing it up the field. She waited for the exact last second and threaded the exact perfect pass, which she has a habit of doing. That's her skill, is knowing when to go and when not to go. And she put the ball right where it needed to be. And Sarr also had a very narrow window to finish that, and she did it. So, continues to be a dangerous player no matter where they put her. I really want to actually highlight a player I've never highlighted before on this team. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
By the way, I just want to bring up, I can't believe the amount of times you watch this team and you see Croy Bethune draw defenders to her. I mean, she's like the option quarterback in college football, where
she is
it's just
like
the right moment just to play that pass. College football started, so I feel like I can make this analogy. But it's just, and to me, it's like, as soon as she gets the ball in field and I see defenders collapsing, I just almost like, I know I'm waiting for that moment when she's going to realize the pass is there and make the pass, because she's so excellently good at it. So like you want her to shoot, I'm like, no, man, I trust her. Let her cook. Let her find that pass. She'll find that pass.
It was 1 second too long, I thought, but it wasn't. I want to really draw out Anna Butel, who had, I think, her best game as a Spirit defender. Temwa Chewinga is outstanding. I was extremely concerned watching her the entire game. She is dangerous. She's fast. She's powerful. She was getting in the best spots all game. She was putting Tara McKeown was on skates numerous times and looked, and if not for some good outcomes. And of course, if you look at Chewinga's goal, Butel did fall down. It is the one time she made a mistake all game, pretty much defending her. But she was in her face. Chewinga tried to push her over at one point because she was it was a side of her I had not seen. She was nasty the whole game. She was physical and nasty and gave her no space, gave her no rest the whole match. So I really want to call her out because I've not done that at all this year. And it makes me wonder too, like if you look at Esme Morgan still working her way to fitness, she was in preseason, isn't ready to play yet. It's not a guarantee that Butel is the one to make way when that comes through. So just really wanted to call out just a great performance by her and a player who does not typically get shouted out for great performances.
Yeah, and Chewinga, I thought, had good moments. I thought it was impressive, and granted, I haven't watched much. Dabinia as a player, I hear her name and I know she's going to be good. I thought she was relatively quiet this game. I think maybe she gets the assist on the Chewinga goal. And there was a moment with Hirschfeld where I just like Hirschfeld's work rate. I think she got sort of beat on the ball, and I think it was from Dabinia, and then she still manages to sort of pick herself up, get back, and still try to sort of make a play. So it's kind of that work rate defensively. So I thought the Spirit did an excellent job. I mean, I think everybody kind of talked about in the first half, the Current had chances. They had opportunities to go in and to try to score. It was not a dominant, despite I think the 2-0 scoreline, it was not a dominant, first half from this team. Current had a lot of moments they were looking better on the ball. The Spirit just punished the Current, and they were just clinical. They were more clinical. Their best players made the right moves, and that's what happens in soccer. I was curious if there was any XG for this game, just to see like what the XG would be. But overall, and again, I think I look at this Spirit 7 shots. They had 5 shots on target. The Current had 14 shots with only 4 on target. So you're talking about a team that was highly efficient at sort of defending, playing against the team, and also being clinical with their chances. And 5 shots on target with 4 goals. That's like an incredible strike rate. And that's kind of maybe how you beat this team. I also thought like this was like an incredibly high performance, like a very high performing game. This is a team like if teams finish second and third, I guess we won't see it, but like this is maybe like a game you would want to see in like your championship game.
I think they did a good job of condensing themselves defensively so that when Kansas City did have the ball, they weren't having open shooting angles. I don't know how many block shots. I don't know if that's a stat captured here overall. Let's see. Is it block shots 6 for the current, only 4 for the only
I only see
2
two
for the
for
Spirit.
here on my Spirit.
Man, either way, I think that the important thing to look at here is this is the Spirit. The last 20 minutes of the first half are what Jonah identified as the worst part of the game for the Spirit, and was actually upset by the way that they were playing. Just did not have control, and were not carrying out what they wanted to be carrying out. But I think, defensively, they were compact when they needed to be. They were isolating Chewinga, and they were putting Anna Patel on her full time. And then offensively, as they're still sort of figuring out both a new somewhat of a new formation, new players getting an opportunity in there, players just coming back from Olympic duty, haven't trained with each other at all. They looked offensive in the first 20 minutes, looked incredibly connected. They looked like they had a second sense where everyone was going to be. In the second half, obviously Rodman scores her goal, left-footed. She wanted to call out to all of the people who were following the team and all of the media, hey, I have a left foot. I don't know why you guys think I don't have a left foot. I've been working on it a long time. See? And that was a Matera assist. And then Lacey Santos scores a ball that looked like it was over the line because it was right in front of me. And I'm like 75% sure that Gabby Carl did not save that ball before it went over the line. Either way, it's a goal and it's a goal in a first appearance. So this team is hot. I think it's only going to get better. The fact that they made the current look like this is a really promising thing for the future. I don't know when we play Orlando. I think it's probably going to be not for a while. We still have, so if you're looking at this team right now, they're at 37 points, 4 behind the Pride. Not really running away with it. The top 4 are kind of in a pack here a little bit, but the next team they're playing is San Diego on the road. Aside in
a team that's a mess, by the way.
Kind of a mess. Landon Donovan is the new coach. Abby Dahlkemper just got traded to BFC for $50,000, which seems like not a lot. That's a great thing for the Spirit. Go there, get some points.
Yeah, that's a mess of it. I mean, a team that I think started with so much. There's a lot going on organizationally with the Wave that has come to light. Yeah, it's a mess. It's a mess.
But the next 5 games here, we've got the Wave away, Portland at home, Houston at home, Kansas City away, and Angel City away. So, interesting run up. I think this team's only gonna get better. I think if you look at this team, barring injuries, I think that lineup that you just saw is going to be really, really hard to beat with those 5 games. And I don't see it happening. It's great. We have some comments saying that the entire game felt like Casey had 0 tape on this new look Spirit, which they wouldn't because it just invented itself in the course of 90 minutes. So for sure, that is so the return leg will be interesting. What will Kansas City look like? It was very funny. I walked into the press conference after, and Vlatko and Lola Bonta were just sitting there in silence staring because they had yet to set up the video and audio equipment. So it was just, also the press conference was in a very weird room that has sport court and a basketball hoop, and then the smallest indoor soccer field that you've ever seen in your life. So they were just sitting there at this folding table, staring off like a 1,000-mile stare, waiting, and no one was talking. And it was just wildly uncomfortable for all parties. It was very funny in a way, but also very uncomfortable. And Vlatko was just kind of staring. Loa and Vlatko were just staring into the ether. But they were there. They stuck it out. They did their thing. So good for them, I guess.
Yeah. We did get some Twitter questions. I think for some stuff, DC related stuff. I think maybe we can put a pin in those. We'll make sure to answer them next week. So apologies for that, guys. We it's been a long time. We had a lot of stuff to talk about. We'll be back. We'll call on to some of those questions, and we'll make sure to bring them back for next week. So I think that's going to do it. Thank you guys so much for listening. RFK Refugees Podcast. Thank you for chilling out while we had a little bit of an extended break, but I think it's been good. I think it brought us back. We felt refreshed, and we were able to dive back into it. Maybe not so much for John because of the COVID, but you'll be back next week, buddy. Maybe next week.
That's true.
All right.
Hopes.
All right. I wanted to play hoops. All right, folks. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you later. We'll catch you next week. Vamos.
Vamos.